Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm rested and ready for another road trip. Where are we going?
I'm going over to the couch when we're done.
On to Rochester? Deeper? Faster? Stronger?
How about the candy store? Let's go to the candy store.
Actually, I was going to talk to you about that because I've been meaning to get there. Now, you always take a trip to the candy store. When is that?
Okay, we're talking tradition, right?
Yes.
On Thanksgiving, I usually make the Thanksgiving dinner for the group home and then go to the candy store on my way home. Now, with there being 7 group homes instead of just 2 or 3, and they're all in different places where I'm used to them all being in the same place, I don't know if I'm doing that this year, but I will still go on Thanksgiving morning because that's where I get my Thanksgiving pie, and it's not very crowded, and they're open, and that is their last weekend. We're talking about Minnesota's largest candy store, which now says they have the largest soda selection in the world.
Yeah, well, they had the largest root beer selection, but did they branch out to other sodas?
Yes, they have updated, and on the building now is painted that it's the largest soda selection in the world. They also have the their Guinness World Record for the most jigsaw puzzles.
Interesting. See, what I was going to ask is my wife and I were going to try to go today, but I told her that, she's thinking just run in, run out. And I'm like, no. This place is, since we've been there, I haven't been there since they remodeled. So it's what, 3 times bigger than it was?
No, it's just they've added on a huge new international section.
But they also increased their floor section.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure.
Maybe 1.5 times.
Okay, because I told her we might want to wait and do it. But she's now coming into a real busy time in November where like almost every weekend she's busy. My schedule's changed, so I'm not off Saturdays anymore. And I was going to see if I could hook up with you, but we always have family on Thanksgiving. But I was going to see if you wanted to go down. Well, not necessarily Black Friday, because me and Butch usually do a running around on Black Friday. But I was going to see if you wanted to go down before then. Or not.
I am about to hit my busy time at my job.
Oh, yeah. We talked off podcast about trying to figure out when we record this missive for all you folks. And we do have a plan, at least up till December 8th.
Oh, we do?
Well, yeah, because December 8th is my last podcast for the year. And you might as well tell the people why.
Hip Watch 2.
Electric Boogaloo. Yeah. I'm going to be out for a while. I have no idea when I'll be able to. I know like last year, I was able to at least send a Festivus greeting.
Let's hope you can do it this year because I've already lined up someone for the Festivus show.
Well, when is Festivus?
Festivus is December 23rd. And it's on a Monday this year.
Oh, okay. Let me put a big F on that, as in FU. There we go. So now I know when So if I can actually sit at my computer, which, believe me, you don't know how painful that is. There's a couple of things that people are, oh, yeah, you could do this. No, I can't. I've already gone through it once. I mean, any extreme L motion of the hip is going to be most painful. I mean, good Lord, I'm going to have like a 5-inch buffer on the crapper so that I can sit comfortably to take care of that.
You mean you're not just going to wear Depends?
Well, it depends. It depends on how much they are. I got to price them out later. So,
boy, you don't watch very many shows on MeTV or Antenna TV or Heroes and Icons because I watch those shows and it makes me feel ancient because it's all bathtubs with doors, the medical alert bracelet, painless catheters, and incontinence products that you can order through the mail so you don't have to be embarrassed buying them at the local Walgreens.
Oh, I don't have to worry about that. Trust me, they're going to give me pills to make sure I run smoothly, if you get my drift. And generally, since my whole range of motion will be probably, uh, let's see, left arm drink, right arm remote, and the only reason I'll get up is to hobble to the bathroom. So, yeah, I'm not going to be very mobile, but I have people like telling me things like, "Oh, I'll carry you here. We'll bring you there." I said, "No, you don't understand how painful that is. Getting into my truck is going to be a major undertaking. Sitting down will be a major undertaking. It takes time just to get the range of motion and everything back. So, not that I'm looking forward to it, but I also understand what I'm in for, having done it once." Which means it'll probably be totally different, and we'll figure that out anyways when I get back sometime next year. Or maybe, when I was a kid, I had a pneumothorax on, let's see if I can remember. Let's see, more scars on my right side. So I was on my right side first, and what they did is they slice your back open in a giant J. Right now, the current technology is they just put a little cut in your upper shoulder and they're able to go in and take care of it. Back then, they gut you open with a rib spreader and scar up your lung, so when it expands, it forms a permanent scar, keeps your lung from collapsing. And so recovering from that was quite traumatic. But and they're like, "Oh, don't worry, it never happened to the other lung." Well, it did the following year. So, but the second time I went in, I recovered so much faster. I mean, I was waking up as they were pushing the nose tube into my gullet. And I'm like, "Keep swallowing. What is it? Just relax. You're trying to kill me." So I just wonder with this time around, will I have, because my body will be used to it, will I be able to recover faster? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Either way, I'm home for 8 weeks and I hope to get back podcasting with you quick. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a solo Joe. Did you realize 4 years ago today, as of this podcast, I sent you my very first solo Joe?
You've only done 3 episodes in 4 years.
I know. I got to slow down. I don't want to match your incredible output. They are still up in perpetuity on the Solitaire Rose Network. So if you guys want to hear my, what did you call it? Ode to 70s radio?
Yes.
That was the first episode. I got most of it out of my system, but
thank God. Joe, you don't have to sit at a computer,
I'll be lucky if I can lay down.
You could call our hotline.
We have a hotline?
Yes, at 952-856-0519. Just call, leave a message, and I'll be able to put it on the show.
Wow. Say that one more time.
952-856-0519. Cool.
Now, is that on our Facebook page too?
I don't know.
Do it if you can, because they keep asking me for, do you have a phone number? And I said, well, I don't know. But, Cory, just for the hell of it, and because I missed a number, one more time. What's that number? 952?
856-0519.
Cool. I would love to hear from some of you listeners. I mean, we love hearing from listeners because it's a lonely road up here in Podville.
It is.
So lonely.
What did you do last night?
I worked. I work on Saturdays now.
So did I.
Now the weird thing at the airport is they're busy I don't know. They're like reconstructing the airport for like the 21st century, even though we're already 2 decades in. And what they did is because Saturdays are usually the slowest day at the airport, they shut off the power on a lot of areas. So if you happen to be walking through Minneapolis Airport and you notice a bunch of restaurants in that closed and darkened, well, that's why. Because wherever they're digging into some serious power. Now, this thing was built in the 60s. And I remember when I used to work in the basement, we all have rooms now that we work in, but when we first started, we were just out on the tug drive. And as they were starting to put in the newer technology for baggage, the guy was going across the ceiling. And I was talking to him a bit. He says, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm trying to find the cords I need, the lines, to power. But I said, there's so many up here, and none of them are on the blueprints, which, you'd probably be expected from a building that old. And I thought it was a good suggestion, but I said, why don't you just start cutting them randomly? And if somebody complains, you know whose it is, and you refix it and keep going. And he thought about it, but he said, no, that's not. So now it's crazy because they we had an instance where a lot of these belts have e-stops and jam mechanisms. Like if a bag gets jammed, it sets off a signal, and then the maintenance guys will come and find the jam. Well, we had one trigger, and it stopped our line, which is unusual because usually when it gets beyond a certain point, it's not our concern because it goes into the system. We could not get our belts moving, and we're like, well, what's going on? So we call them and they say, well, it says it's this belt and this belt, and it's like, well, they're in our room, but we can't. There's no e-stop trigger. There's no jam light on. And when they came up, they found it. Apparently, the construction guys built a wall around it for their work area and cut off our reset. So they had to climb up and over and under and through, and they found the magic button and hit it, and all was well. And then they just figured, well, we better disable this one because there's no way in hell anybody, much less me with one hip, are able to find this thing. And we got a lot of bad press too because the whole time when I was put away for a while on the sidelines, the lines at the airport got crazy. But to quote Han Solo, it's not my fault. It was the construction. They had blocked off one checkpoint so thoroughly. They're like, okay, we'll open this other one wide open, but it wasn't enough to do it. Naturally, TSA takes the heat. Oh, these lines are TSA's fault. Oh, nope, not our fault this time. Now, as for yesterday, no, never mind.
What did you do?
Me, nothing. Actually, I sat and did overtime, which I haven't done since the incident. Well, me being banished, but I did it mostly because I needed a little extra cash. I got my front wheel drive fixed on my truck, so now when the inevitable snow comes and I'm back to driving, I can drive and get home randomly, which is nice. Instead of hearing that, okay, just one more block. It smooth at a baby's bottom.
Ooh.
So I figured a little overtime will pay for that, and I don't have to go pimping on the eBays. Oh, please buy something so I can get my truck fixed. I mean, I'm still going to do that, but not for just wasn't my fault.
Well, there was news that broke while we have been away.
Really?
Yes.
I gotta stop taking road trips then.
The big news, big news, big monster news.
Tremendous news. Monstrous.
Disney is reconfiguring Marvel. Now, you knew that back when the Marvel movies started, even before Disney had bought them, they had a committee who worked at Marvel Publishing who would kind of sit in and help out. And then Disney bought them, and then Ike Perlmutter, that's the name of the guy, right?
Yeah, Mutter Putt.
The people at Disney don't like him.
I
Not
wonder.
just because of his politics, because he's a very close friend of Donald Trump. Not just because he's kind of an abrasive jerk, but because he was becoming a pain in the ass around the movies, where he showed up for filming of either Iron Man 2 or 3 and berated Robert Downey Jr. for his salary. And he would try to micromanage the cost of the movies till Disney said, you have nothing to do with this. We are splitting the publishing from the movies completely.
So you're saying he's basically channeling Martin Goodman.
Oh, yeah. And you know how the warehouse clearing sales that I love so much?
Mm-hmm.
Those all pretty much are Perlmutter going, we're not paying for warehouse storage. Get rid of everything before taxes. Well, Kevin Fiege is now in charge of Marvel TV and Marvel Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
First thing that has happened is that Alan Fine, who is one of the executives at Marvel Publishing, either just left or left when he found out about this.
Okay.
Alan Fine is not a name that you know about, but he's been around Marvel since the bankruptcy and has been kind of, he sort of guided them through the bankruptcy and back into profitability. And then Jeff Loeb, who's in charge of the TV, has announced that he is leaving.
Is he leaving TV or Marvel? Because I mean, he
Leaving
writes.
Marvel altogether.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
'Cause I know he writes a lot of stuff. He's not one of those guys that
He
I
hasn't
seek
written
out.
for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to see his name, I would always, definitely check out what he was doing. So
He's someone who could be good and could also not be good.
yeah.
So, I always point to like the colors stories, Spider-Man blue, Daredevil red, Captain America red, white, and blue,
Oh, yeah.
Hulk green. Those were fantastic. The stuff he did with Rob Liefeld, oof.
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 Oh. But they say that this means that with Fiege in charge of the TV, it's going to be tied closer to the movies.
Which is always something we complained about. At least I did. You had this. I always figured you had this 3 level of stuff. You had like the street heroes in the TV movies or TV stuff. You had, of course, the other problem was they were all over the place. I mean, did Cloak and Dagger take place in the Marvel Universe or whatever? Did you had kind of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which should have been used to like connect the two, although it's kind of in its own world. And then, of course, you had the movie level stuff. And the problem was, of course, TV moved a lot faster and filled in the gaps. But if you're not keeping track of that, eventually you get to the point where like they didn't refer to what happened in the first Avenger movie in the TV shows. They just kind of called it the incident. And we know what they were talking about, but they never really got back to it. They did try to do that a little bit at Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s where they had the actress who played Sif show up after the second Thor movie. And I enjoy that stuff. I mean, obviously you and I are continuity. We don't shy from continuity, but and I guess I do understand where it might be confusing for non-continuity guys, but the reason that they gave, well, we don't want the fans yelling at us because they think that they know where the Avenger Tower is, so we're not going to show it in the background ever. And I thought, that's kind of, I guess I disagreed with that. Same way I disagreed with when Karen Berger kept Vertigo characters out of the mainstream DC universe. I'm like, they're already there, just whatever. I didn't like it. I don't know how you cared, or did you even watch any of the Netflix shows?
I have. I enjoyed them a lot. I thought they were incredibly well done.
That's my to-do list while I'm on my back.
The thing that I know a lot of people say that they would sag in the middle, and Iron Fist, they didn't like Iron Fist, but for me, I jumped into that feeling of being a 12-year-old kid going, I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm watching these characters. And for me, it never quite wore off. I do think that the Jessica Jones was the best of them. Daredevil season 1 was amazing. I could not have loved that more. But I liked all of them. I thought it was a fun idea, having all of the characters in their own and then teaming up in one. And I only wish that they would have been able to continue it.
And you never know if they will, because they have said that the actor, and I don't have it at my fingertips, who did Punisher, is going to be continuing on in that role whenever Disney gets around to whatever they're going to do with the character. So maybe we might see them show up again. Maybe not. I don't know how much Disney is. I don't know if Disney will get the rights to the Netflix shows once they've expired from Netflix, so they can put them on their network or not. I'd like to think they are. I'd like to think it's like the DC with Lucifer when Netflix took over. They pretty much just kept the main actor, or they kept all the actors and just continued with the show.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure. Disney really hasn't said one way or another. But
that's okay.
But now, I mean, you got Disney's brainlock Kevin Feige.
Yes.
I mean, not only is he in charge now of Marvel overall, but he's in charge of Star Wars. I think they want him to do with Star Wars what he did with Marvel. And I know a lot of Star Wars fans are ambiguous because they're kind of the hardcore Star Wars guys. I know it's like, if it's not about the Jedi, if it's not about Skywalker, I don't want to hear about it. Yet Rogue One kind of showed, I don't know, I enjoyed Rogue One. I enjoyed Han Solo.
I love Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One was awesome. And even though they did kind of they tied it in the end, it really had nothing to do with Skywalker anywhere. I mean, and I enjoyed the Han Solo movie too. But some of the hardcore fans, they're just really into it. And it's kind of like what I've said oodles before. You guys are having the same problem that the Star Trek fans had when Next Generation came out. Oh, how can you have Star Trek without Kirk and Spock and McCoy and all those guys? Now it's like, how come we don't have more Star Trek? Now we got Discovery, which I've been hearing good things about, and Picard, which may make me actually buy CBS Access, because I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with that. As if they make a third Star Trek show that way. But anyways, I can see them doing that. I mean, they've already talked. Ian McGregor is going to do a 6-part Obi-Wan miniseries.
Yep.
Brilliant. And I've even said, what you should do is go way back to the beginning of the Republic, back when it was before the Sith narrowed it down to just 2, where you had an actual, okay, these are the Jedi, these are the Sith, and they're fighting. We call it the Old Republic in the extended universe. Nobody outside of Star Wars knows what the hell we're talking about. So that would be a brilliant place to start. In the prime, new characters. There's a vast Star Wars universe, and I'm geeking out to see what's going on. I'm not to the point where I'm like, well, if it's not about Skywalker, it's never going to happen. Because as we know, the actors are old, they're passing away. I'm rambling a bit, but how do you feel on that, Cory?
First off, for Fiege being in charge of all of Marvel, I think it's a good idea. There should be one person who's kind of overseeing everything.
He is the overseer. He is the overseer over you.
And the other thing that I think is happening is Disney really wants to get rid of Perlmutter. And I think that would be good for Marvel Publishing. Because we don't know how much goes on at Marvel that has to do with his management style. There are people at Marvel who say that they still are in the where you have to count paper clips mode. And one thing about Disney will pay enough money to get things done right. Disney is not one of these companies that thinks that you can cheap your way to quality. The first thing that I would love to see with Fiege is for him to revamp their how they see their collected editions and books. No more of this. It's got to be gone within 3 months. There should be, Marvel has started doing the milestone books, which are these are the books that are best. You need as a publisher to have what are known as evergreens. Those are books that sell all the time. And Marvel has stuff. It's constantly going out of print. Think of all the X-Men stories that Death of the Phoenix goes out of print every few years, and you can't get it for a few years. Right now, you can't get Demon in a Bottle, the Iron Man story, which is probably the most important Iron Man story, even more important than his origin in my mind. The Tony Stark is an alcoholic story. For Spider-Man, There should never be a time when you can't get the Spider-Man versus Kraven story by D. Matthias and Mike Zeck. For Punisher, there should never be a time you can't get that Punisher mini-series. I hope he really looks at that and helps Marvel become like DC used to be. Although, you know, DC, their Black Label line is to sort of create these evergreen books. But DC, there's never been a time Watchmen hasn't been in print for obvious contractual reasons. There's never been a time when Killing Joke hasn't been a print. There's never been a time when The Dark Knight hasn't been in print. I think, you know, over at DC, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow should always be in print, etc., etc. But Marvel's really got to work on that, and I hope that Fiege coming in, especially when the movies pull from these comics, they pull from these stories for the movies, that he says, no, this stuff has to stay in print. This is our bread and butter. Amazon has proven what they call the long tail, which is you can have your best sellers, but you've got to have this stuff that sells 5, 10, 20 copies a month. That's where your profit is. Over at Star Wars, I'm still mad at the Star Wars fans who kind of went on a concerted effort to make sure that Solo bombed.
Yeah, you guys are idiots.
Because they had all this stuff planned. We were going to get an Obi-Wan movie. We were going to get a Boba Fett movie. They were going to do more stuff like Rogue One. And then, Solo wasn't a huge hit. Well, we're ending all that. All that's done. All because they were pissy about the fact that The Last Jedi wasn't what they wanted it to be. And I that always bugs me when fans are like that, when they are, this wasn't what I expected. There's one thing if a movie is bad. There's another if it just doesn't tell the story you want it to tell. Stan Lee always said, we don't tell the stories the fans want us to tell. We tell the stories that the fans didn't know they wanted. If you would have said in 1980, we're going to kill Jean Grey, fans would have been furious. And yet it was the best-selling, most important X-Men story ever told. If you would have told fans we're going to kill off Gwen Stacy, if you would have told fans, we're going to take Iron Man and he's an alcoholic, we're going to have a second Robin, on and on and on. How many people pissed and moaned about Superman getting married to Lois Lane, and yet it's been in place for over 20 years, and it's still, people still enjoy it. We've got to get over this. They need to tell the stories we want them to tell. It should be, think about all the movies that you love and how they had a big twist. And I would like to remind everybody, when Empire Strikes Back came out, people were furious. The hardcore fans were mad.
I found an article on
Facebook. What do you mean?
I found an article on Facebook where Roger and Ebert were like the only people that gave Star Wars a thumbs up. Everybody was so negative on it. It was just crazy. And this is now it's considered cinema, which ties into, the current controversy rolling, but I don't want to get into that this week.
But even Empire Strikes Back, I remember Starlog. Oh, they were terrible. The Luke Skywalker got his ass beat.
And see, that's weird. And in some ways, I'm glad there was no internet, because I was amazed it was continued, and I was nosebleeding for Return of the Jedi. I had to decide, do I want to blow off my graduation high school to go see the first showing? I didn't. Mostly because, parents probably would have been furious. And Joseph Ryder? Joseph? Where's Joseph? He's at Harmar Theater. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have made it to do these national treasure of a podcast that we're enjoying today. But I did go the next day. No, but I mean, I was dying to see it. Oh my Lord. So yeah, I was not
And
one of the
imagine,
people that were crying for blood.
and I will still point out, when people say Luke Skywalker wouldn't have ran off and become a hermit, well, that's what Obi-Wan did. That's what Yoda did. Kind of what Jedi do.
Yeah, they're big on hermits.
They fuck up and they go run and hide.
Oh, we blew it. Let's hide. No, I ain't gonna live in swamp for ages. Never mind that revamp and kick that guy's ass.
So I'm hoping that Fiege is able to kind of use the goodwill he has from the Marvel movies to kind of jumpstart. Because for all the people who bitch and moan about the Marvel movies not being cinema and blah, 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 I'd just like to point out, people aren't going to a movie theater and paying $15 plus another $15 for a popcorn and soda. So that's $30 to see a well-acted drama piece when there are tons of well-acted drama pieces on cable TV, on Netflix, on Amazon, on Hulu, on all these platforms. Especially when, I'm going to be blunt here, my TV gives me a better picture than most theaters because most theaters are running their bulbs too dim. And I thought it was just me, but I keep reading articles about how cinematographers will go to a theater and they'll actually test, and it's like, this movie is showing at 65% of the brightness it's supposed to be at. And they're actually telling people to go to the theater and manager and demand their money back and say, I'm not coming back until you replace your bulbs because they're supposed to be running at 100%. The problem is theaters will run a bulb until it dies because the bulbs are really expensive. But the thing is, the bulbs slowly dim over time before they die. It's not like your light bulb at home where it burns at the same until it just is done. These, because they're so powerful, they just slowly start dimming over time. And rather than replace them, they just wait till they completely burn out. So, anything else on Fiege being in? What would you want Fiege to do for Marvel Publishing, Joe?
And publishing? I mean,
Yeah.
Not the movies?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you in terms of the backstock, because that's one of the I mean, obviously the omnibuses don't count because those I think should just be, you got one shot and that's it. And if they sell out or they go crazy, like the Eternals one, just republish it if enough people are interested. But there should be a perpetual inventory. It's a good moneymaker. I don't know if Disney necessarily would license that out to somebody to do it, but Marvel's proven in the past they can do it. DC's proven they can do it. And Disney's in the job of making money. Although there are a couple peculiar things they do, and we'll blab about that a little later. So I'd like to see it continue. The comic side, I don't know. I still think they're publishing way too much. But then again, not everything has to be for me, So I do find it curious, too, that, and we've talked about it at past, not everything that Disney owns is being published by Marvel. The classic stuff's at IDW. A lot of their properties are across the spectrum. IDW, I think Dark Horse got some. There's manga. So, they're in the business to maximize these properties. Remember that, because we're going to revisit that theme in a bit.
And then over at DC, normally, this is such an early rumor that I wouldn't give it a lot of credence, except it was covered on Heidi McDonald's website, The Beat, which if you're not reading it, you should. It is really the only good comics
what
news
you're saying
site.
Is you shouldn't blow The Beat off?
Please clap.
Jeb Bush liked that joke.
I wasn't sure if he's around. It's been a while since we heard from him.
No, he's still here. He's still
Okay.
here.
Just checking.
We are getting signs that there will be a new crisis at DC. All of a sudden, the symbol started showing up in all the DC comics. And the rumor that has been floating around is that they are doing what is known as a 5G, 5th generation. Because they recently did a thing where the Golden Age is Generation 1, Silver Age is Generation 2, After Crisis is Generation 3, and the New 52 is Generation 4. They're doing a 5G line-wide reboot again of DC, where many of the characters will be replaced by new versions. We were already hearing that what was the character? Batwing will be taking over as Batman. There's Jonathan Kent will be taking over as Superman, etc., etc., etc. Joe?
Wait, didn't he just go to the future?
Yeah, but
Maybe he'll come back.
yeah, that doesn't mean he has to stay there. I mean,
True.
Superboy used to go to the future once a month.
Yeah.
And the Supergirl, she would go out to the future once a month, and on and on and on.
On and on.
So, Joe, what do you think of this initiative?
Bah. If it's story driven, fine. But I've seen it before. All it does is give you a bunch of stock characters nobody's going to care about until you decide to have an Eclipse attack or another Crisis or maybe Darkseid farts, and you kill off all the secondary characters and bring back the originals. So, but again, I've gone through it before. I mean, remember when I opened the comic store? Superman died. 4 doppelgangers came back. We didn't know which ones were which. Batman was replaced. No, they didn't mess with Wonder Woman. But, well, no, they did. They got that.
Yes, Wonder Woman was replaced by Artemis.
Yeah, thank you. So, again, and those I look back fondly on. I don't, nothing drives me crazier than the blowback we get. Oh my God, they killed off Tony Stark. He's being replaced by a teenage black girl. That's just social justice. No, it isn't. It's storytelling. The funny part is when the person in question was bitching about that, I was like, you're not reading comics, are you? Why? Tony Stark's been back for several months. And you totally missed the part where Dr. Doom also claimed the Iron Man mantle. So for me, if it's story driven, I don't know if I like the idea where, like, it sounds like a reboot, New 52 style. If in the course of the story, it's replaced, but if it's like, next month, all new number ones, yeah, I'm kind of against that. I don't think I'd like it that way. And if they're doing it line wide, and again, it depends on the story. Like, and this is pure speculation on my part, but I could see like, okay, there's this major event, all the major heroes go up to stop it, and they fail. They're gone. We don't know what happened to them. It almost shades of like when Marvel did Heroes Reborn, Heroes Return. But there they saw everybody go. In this case, it would be like, we don't know what happened. Where'd Superman go? The Justice League went off with all these heroes. They must have won because the threat didn't reach Earth. But they're gone. There's like a huge explosion and they're gone. Who's going to step up? Okay, I just excited myself. Oh, I need a drink. Whew. Because that would be a storyline that would drive my budget into the hole, into the ground. I mean, I would bust the bank buying that. Again, it depends on how they do it. I'm wary of it because this is what, the third bump, and I'm talking what, Hero or New 52, Rebirth, and now we're doing it again. It's like, how many times is DC going to drop the well?
And remember, before that, we had the, 1 year later.
Yeah. So there's always, you're always giving me a place to drop off. But, I'm kind of hyped on DC because I've been liking the stuff. I don't know. Are you reading Doomsday Clock?
I'm not going to read Doomsday Clock till it's over because
which makes sense.
How late is that book?
About
it was supposed to be over a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's got all these revelations.
Yeah.
And they've had to put them all on hold, or they've gone ahead and done it and said, Dad, screw it. Or how much of this was going to be the end of Rebirth, that Rebirth story that started. This is the end of it. And because it got all screwed up because nobody could deliver anything on time, they're like, hey, we got to do something else. We don't know.
And I can say, reading it, I'm like, I've gushed. When I read 10 and I read 11, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate having to wait 2 more months for 12 to come out. I've been enjoying Justice. I've been enjoying Young Justice. I read the little things here and there where they talk about, okay, this is a little reveal. This could be happening. Batman's got a bunch of them too. As long as it's story driven, I don't need another artificial stop. I'm still not recovered from New 52. I've got so much crap in my collection still. A lot of it I just got rid of the Purge a couple years ago. But there is stuff that also stuck. We talked about Batman and Green Lantern. We kind of ignored the whole New 52 and just kept going with what they were doing. So, again, if it's story-driven, but I don't necessarily need a huge event, and one day I wake up and none of the characters are who I think they are, I think it's a little off-putting if somebody, I'm going to read a Superman comic. Wait, I don't know who this is. I guess I'm not going to read Superman anymore. You're making it hard enough for new readers to just jump in and enjoy. I'm not saying go back to the 80s where everything's done in one or the stories are just blah. But also, if you're going to make like multi-arc year-long stories, you got to make it accessible. Even for me, there's some stuff going on in DC Universe. I'm like, I think something's going on, but I'm not going to buy 27 comics to figure it out. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
I have a whole bunch to say, of course.
Well, good. Let's hear
it. First, these changes are like a pendulum. Even the ones that are considered to be permanent always go back. It may take a while, but Barry Allen came back from Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, spoilers! Oh, come on!
Hal Jordan came back from being parallax and killing every last Green Lantern.
Oh, man.
And those were not thought when the story was originally put in place. Although Marv Wolfman will say, and he's pointed it out in both the novel and the comic, he left a back door for Barry Allen to come back.
Did they use it, or did they do something else?
They did something else, but the back door he left could have been very cool. Where it's okay, when he's going back through his life, there was a period you could put in there where he comes back as the Flash, but he knows he has a limited time. His life will only be a certain length.
That'd have been fun.
Yeah. So even if they replace everybody, everybody's going to come back. That's just how it is. And there's also, let's remind everybody, marketing. Oliver Queen is done 8 seasons as Green Arrow. He is in people's minds as Green Arrow. Remember when the Green Lantern movie came out and it was Hal Jordan? And tons of people were like, shouldn't that be Jon Stewart? Because they'd used Jon Stewart in the cartoon. As comic fans, we understand the legacy thing. But the general public doesn't quite grasp that. It doesn't work unless you spend an entire movie or a bunch of episodes of a TV show explaining it. I want to remind everybody, the plan was for Ben Reilly to replace Peter Parker until finally marketing came in and said, we have Peter Parker in a cartoon. We're working on a movie with Peter Parker. Peter Parker's got to be Spider-Man. So even if they make these changes, they will eventually be undone. My second thing is, this is the 4th time in 15 years DC has hit the reset button. And the last 3, it feels like, okay, we go about 3 or 4 years and we reset. And that means that all the trade paperbacks and all this back stock they have, well, now it's worthless.
Yeah.
And there are, you read about retailers who, like, the minute they do these reboots, all the DC trade paperbacks I have, nobody wants them anymore because they're not relevant anymore.
And
So
if you don't
only
believe
the
that,
ones.
remember how much we've been to, what, 270% off sales down at our good buds at Mind's Eye? Because they're trying to get rid of this old stock nobody wants.
And how many shops have we gone to where in their discount bin there is all the New 52? New 52 when it came out was red hot. Now, other than Batman, which has not hit the reset button, or Superman, which the New 52 Superman no one really cares about because he was replaced by the pre 52 Superman.
He's dead, Jim.
And it's almost like DC keeps chasing that bump. They keep chasing that high, and it's every time they do it, more fans drop off, and the bump has less effect. This is going to be one of those things where there's a huge bump, and then within 3 or 4 months, it's back to where it was, and maybe even a little lower, because it's like, I don't know if I want to read Joe Brony as the Flash. I don't know if I want to read Ham Salad as Green Arrow. Why not instead do what you've been doing on Superman and Batman and other books where it's, okay, we don't need to do a line-wide reset. Let's just get really good creators and put them on these books.
And then cancel them 20 issues before the climax. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, there is that.
But in a lot of ways, what Brian Michael Bendis has done, he's kind of done a reset on the books he's on without saying nothing before me mattered. It's like, okay, I'm going to read through. What can I use? What do I not need? What do I need to fix? His Legion of Superheroes, the way it's being set up, yes, it's an all-new Legion, but he hasn't said, none of those other Legion stories, they didn't exist. He's saying, okay, here's why we need to do a new Legion. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to build it up in a story, and I'm going to make it relevant for now rather than, one of the biggest pains in the asses when they rebooted the Legion last time. It's like, okay, no, not last time, but the time before. Okay, let's go back and we'll do a greatest hits. We'll retell all of the great Legion stories. And for me, who went back and bought the trade paperbacks and the old Legion stuff, it's like, I don't need to read this Computo story where Triplicate Girl becomes Duo Damsel again. You tell new stories. Tell new stories! So if I were DC, doing another Crisis, cool. That could be fun if you've got a great idea and you've got a really good creative team. But out of it, don't do this stuff arbitrarily. Go out, tap the best creators, and say, hey, what story do you want to tell? Like with Tom King, he came in and he said, here's my 100-issue Batman plot. And they went, okay, cool. And then they shunted the last 20 issues into another book.
I kind of like that idea. Melding with what I come up with. You can do a Crisis? Yeah, do a Crisis. But when the heroes win, they all died or disappear. That would get me going. Because then I'd be like, okay, you're going to replace them. And yeah, they'll come back eventually. But it's a chance that would be a chance to do it. Although line-wide, it might be too much. It might be, like I said, okay, Crisis is over. It's kind of like, for me, as I said before, the DC is slowly getting me back, but for the most part, Final Crisis was it. I'm like, after this, it doesn't matter what DC does, because that's where my DC ended. It didn't, but that's in my brain how it did. And that's how people process things. They're not going to, I'm not going to jump on this new reboot, or I'm not going to join the new universe. You said it before, and I think Nick said it in the past. Every new reboot is somebody else's jumping off point.
Butch said it in our car trip. It's like, well, yeah. Cool. There. I don't have to read DC anymore.
So editors, remember that. I think the idea is not bad, and like I said, the way I said it is kind of fun. But I think it'd be better if it's just more organic. Where things just kind of, I don't know, whatever. Maybe Bruce Wayne step back and say, you know what, I'm done. I gotta let you guys do it. I'm too beat up. I'm too whatever. So, what Cory said, listen to him. Get the good creative team. Get it doing. If it's got to be a crisis, so be it. But you don't want to make it a jumping off point as well as a jumping on point.
Now, we only have a little bit of time left before we hit our hour.
Whoa. And believe me, when Cory and I came into this, we're like, oh, we're going to talk about this, and we haven't even gotten to this. So maybe we'll do that next time.
So next time we'll do the reviews.
Yep. We'll do lots of reviews.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you want to? I had this idea because we always got more books to review than we did, including somebody sent us one, didn't they?
Yes.
Cool. Well, we'll get to that and some other ones. But I was going to say, depending on how much Cory reads, I'd like to try something new. And what that is, well, if it happens, we'll do it next time. If not, well, there's always next year. Season 10. Do we do seasons? Or I don't know.
No, we don't do seasons, but we are coming up on our 10th anniversary.
I know.
10 years. And we have yet to have a Wikipedia page.
I know.
We are a national treasure, people.
We are. Look at now. You said it enough times. I believe you. Who else believes us?
These guys, our sponsors. Promotional consideration is paid for by the following sponsors. Our first sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com has been with us since the beginning. They're the best web host in the whole known universe. And if you need a web host, and you do because, Facebook, Google+, everything gets hacked. But if you set up your own web page, it'll never get hacked. Unless you kind of make some mistakes or pick an easy password like password. But still, you can have your own web page. If you use the code KRAYZ, K-R-A-Y-Z, you get $20 off your first year. When you're at the office, do you often run to the vending machine for snacks? Those things are terrible for you. Instead, have snacks delivered to you. So go to Graze.com. Graze.com has healthy snacks that you can decide what kind of snacks you want, how often you want them, whether they get delivered to you, or if you choose them every time. I myself get the subscription box every 2 weeks so that I have healthy things to eat when I'm at work. You can get a free box by using the code CORYS3R5P. Matter of fact, use that code your fifth and your first box are free. Again, that's CORYS3R5P. If you'd like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose Podcast Network shows, you can. Just send us an email at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks.
I love a good segue.
And if you have been listening to the show, you know that if you go over to pwinsider.com, I am writing up the play-by-play for Wednesday Night Dynamite, the all-elite wrestling show on TNT. But if you become an elite subscriber, which you should, you can listen to my audio show, which drops every Wednesday night, where I go over what happened on the show. I do an audio recap. Sometimes I do it with Anthony Pyrus, and sometimes I do it by myself. It depends on how late it is. He's on the East Coast, and if he's around, because there was one week where he actually went to an all-elite show in person.
Oh, cool.
And we talked about the big difference between seeing a WWE show in person and an all-elite wrestling show in person. Now, Joe, you and I went and saw Smackdown at the last WWE TV taping I went to. And yes, that was a long time ago. But what do you remember most about it?
I don't remember anything because the last Smackdown I went to with Holly when she was young.
Oh.
I do remember a WCW one we went to. But that was mostly because, we were with the whole bunch of gang and we kind of made our own fun. Yeah, shouting USA at the Lucha Libres.
I remember when we went, it was like there were only 4 matches on SmackDown itself, and there was so much time where we were either sitting in the dark or we were watching pre-tape vignettes on the TV screen.
Or that was the ECW one too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when Batista came out and it was so loud, I had to like plug my ears and look away because it boom, 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 boom. How that guy's not deaf, I have no idea.
But you're just sitting there, and I remember timing it one time, and it's like, it's been 20 minutes since there's been any action in the ring. No one, the lights have been dimmed. We're either watching a screen or they're in commercial. AEW, they don't have that. It's boom, 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 boom. They have stuff going on during the commercials. The show just never stops. So when All Elite comes to Minnesota, I'll probably go see them live. Because
warning. I'd love to go with you. It'd be kind of fun.
Because I got really tired of sitting there waiting for something to happen. It's like, if I watched this at home, I could fast forward through the commercials.
And if I recall, didn't they redo an ending or something? Because they did something and then they had to redo it.
Yep, they screwed something up and they had to redo it. And The Undertaker came out, and that was incredibly cool. The Undertaker's entrance in person, unbelievably cool. He didn't wrestle or anything. He just showed up and talked for a little bit. But that's not the only other podcast I do. I do all of these. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network has all sorts of podcasts for you. There's, of course, Crazy Comics and Stories, where myself and Crazy Joe Ryder get together once a week to talk comics. We review comics, we talk about upcoming comics, we talk about comics history. Anything that has to do with comics, we're going to talk about. We also have Series in Review, where we review series and kind of give a DVD commentary of past comics that we've enjoyed. There is also Solitaire Rose Radio. Solitaire Rose Radio is my solo show where I discuss upcoming comics, past comics, comics history, and interview comics creators. These are all at crazycomics.solitairerose.com. There's also the podcast I'm proudest of. That's Novelcast, where I take the novels that I have written and turn them into audiobooks. That's at novels.solitairerose.com. Over at Bad Advice, myself, Dan Moore, and Wolfie B. Bad take your questions and give you bad advice. It's at badadvice.solitairerose.com. Now, don't think that I'm doing all the podcasts, because there's also Scrabbling Across the West by Dave Coffell and Stephanie Coffell. Dave is a musician and Stephanie is his wife. They travel the country performing music and playing Scrabble over at scrabbling.solitairerose.com. And finally, the newest member of the Solitaire Rose Radio group, that's Fantastic Forecast, where myself and host of For the Love of Comics, Adam Vermillion, go over the series The Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time. That's available at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com. If you would like to advertise on any of these podcasts, you can. Just email me at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And if you remember right, Joe will not be with us through the month of December and into January.
Yeah, I need a break.
And you're going to be heavily medicated for that break.
Which could be more entertaining than you'd think.
I think you should just do a podcast where you're really high on painkillers.
The problem is, and I talked about this, it's not that I'm high, it's that I'm numb. And you don't feel like doing anything being that numb. You know, God help people that have to live that way because of pain or drug addiction. But the will to do anything is gone. So it's not like when we're drunk or, getting hepped up on goofballs, people. So, it would pretty much just be like the anti-me. I wouldn't even say anything. I'd be like, oh yeah, DC. Yeah.
Comics rule.
I don't even think I'd get that enthused. It was shocking. Shocking, I tell you.
But here's how you can help out. And now we get to Joe's favorite part of the show. No, not where he drinks a lot of Robitussin and talks about DC Comics.
Although the way we've been hacking, if you got some extra Robitussin, you might want to send it. It is cold and flu season,
No, it's Joe, what's going on the eBays?
eBay's. Oh, that's an entirely separate screen. Hang on a second. Let's see. Follow the difference.
Not
Okay.
supposed to be looking at the porn while we're doing the podcast.
Sorry, I found some good stuff. Anyways, it's actually been slow on the eBay's. I don't know. I suppose October you get that change of season year. A lot of cons came through. New York came through. We had our own MCBA Fall Con, and of course, it's never too late to mention MSP Spring Con 2020 will be May 16th and 17th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 5 p.m. on Sunday, and that's always at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds Grandstand, which is huge, huge. And I've seen the emails. There's people actually asking now, hey, can I be a guest? Can I get a table? How do I get stuff? Guys, these people are in old and sleep from FallCon. There's always somebody monitoring it and responding. But and keep an eye on the website, mcbacomiccons.com. But the advanced tickets aren't going on sale till April 1st. And if you are interested in getting a table or if you are interested in being a guest, definitely drop them an email because they'll start figuring that stuff out probably after the new year, if not now. And of course, it's never too late or early if you want to donate to the charity booth that Cory and I started and my family has taken over and we still do. So just contact us via all the information on our Facebook page or through the MCBA's Facebook page. Figure out a way to get it to me. If you're in the Twin Cities area, I'll come to you. Heck, you've heard our road trips. We pretty much go anywhere we think is interesting. You up in Fargo? Hey, I'll get Butch and Cory together. We'll take a trip up to Fargo. You're buying lunch, though, and pick up whatever you got. So that should be kind of fun. In the meantime, though, like I said, a little slow on the eBays for me. But the things I've sold have been kind of bigger buck stuff. Like I sold a Lady Death Apocalypse leather edition. Ooh. I actually dropped the price $5 and somebody snagged it up. Speaking of charity, I had a All-Star Batman and Robin Boy Wonder #1. I mean, talk about series that kind of just disappeared. But this one was kind of unique because it was signed by Jim Lee, Frank Miller, Scott Williams, and signed and remarked by Alex Sinclair. And I picked this up at a couple cons ago for the charity booth, and I sold it. Actually, guy made an offer on it, which I'm prone to do if you got an offer on something. I take that money, and since it's too early to do anything, I'll actually use that and buy some more fun things for the con, especially after Christmas season's over and everybody's clearancing stuff out. I did end up selling a Pulp Fiction Jules Winfield. Cory, this isn't even Asa Strode because Cory knows. Who played Jules Winfield?
That would be Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson.
Yeah, this is a 13-inch figure from Beeline Miramax, 2015. Unfortunately, it's one of those where you can press the sample button. It's been pressed so many times you can't hear them anymore. But again, somebody made an offer. This was for the con guys. So that in the off season, I've already got $300 for these guys. And I don't mark which items on my eBays are for the charity and not. I just put them up because I find when I did the charity thing, I didn't have a lot of action on it. So I'm kind of a stealth charity guy. As far as things I sold, Cory, did you ever read Infestation when IDW did it?
Yes.
Yeah, I sold a variant cover for the Star Trek version. Infestation was a line-wide thing where the zombies invaded all these different realities, and I think it was Star Trek, X-Files, Transformers. I don't know who else was at IDW. This is back in 2011. I sold a Game of Thrones puzzle, a 1,000-piece puzzle. I actually had bought it for Holly because she talked about doing puzzles, but she's not into Game of Thrones, so she kind of let it go. Not everything is comic related. I sold a Star Wars 10-piece bendable figure set. This one was kind of beat to heck, so I had it at a really good price. So, idea that somebody might open it. Open your toys. What a sicko. Comic related, I sold a Comic Book Marketplace #5, which is a Gemstone publication from 2005. It was kind of cheap. Cory, did you ever read Vietnam Journal from Apple Comics?
Yes, they recently reprinted that through another comic publisher. It's by Don Lomax, who was, this is not fiction. This is what he went through when he was in Vietnam.
I actually had some random issues, and I put them all up on the Starbucks, the eBays. I'm thinking coffee already. I had a number 15, and I priced them. You know me, I'm a how would you say, bottom feeder. I put it, whatever the cheapest price is, mine's even cheaper. So if you're looking to fill a set, I might have a couple of issues. And now something that Cory, I was really tempted not to sell this, but I'm trying to make room for everything. Cory, do you remember what was going on November 1992?
Yeah, that was the death of Superman.
Yeah, and I had an Advance Comics number 47. That would have been November. That would have been what? September? An Advance Comic.
Oh, August, either July or August.
Okay, yeah, because you were ordering months in advance, but this was an Advance Comics, and I believe this was before Pat. We placed our orders before we knew we were going to buy the store. That can't be right. We had to know we were going to buy the shop. The reason why is because for some reason this is my old partner's Pat's copy of Advance Comics. Advance Comics was the pre-order book that Cap City used. It's what Diamond Comics uses as previews. Or that's what it's called now, previews. And this one was kind of neat because Pat actually, he was always a speculator. He always ordered multiple copies of stuff. And so he actually wrote in his book how many things he wanted. And I hung on to it just because it was, I don't know, I thought it was mine. But to see that Pat wrote it, and it was almost like a historical thing. This was like, I don't know, PS, pre-shop when we ordered this. And it was just kind of neat to see what Pat ordered versus, because the Advance Comics, the black copy, he ordered like 10 copies. And then the non-one, he ordered 5 and so on and so on. It was just kind of fun. And it's fun to look back. And I mean, this was a small catalog compared to the 1,000-page monstrosity we wade through every month now. So, but I had it up. I sold it. It's gone. Everything else that's up there, well, I've had a couple weeks now. I've gone through stuff that we picked up on a road trip. I've gone through stuff that we picked up on sales. I got a lot of stuff ready to go up. And you guys, being our treasured listeners, if you see anything you're interested in, drop me a line. I'll try to cut you a deal, or maybe if you just buy it and say you listen to the show, I'll always toss in something. It won't be a coveted no prize. I'm sorry, a Joe prize, but it will be something fun because I got tons of stuff to give away. Krayz. Krayz. See, it's easy to remember. Come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show.
Bathroom break.
No, not where I go to the Walmart and buy all of the pies that are on sale. You realize if they're a day old, they sell them at half price.
Oh, half price pies. Oh,
no, it's freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
I mentioned before Disney. I don't know what Disney's doing. There's a thing going on where Disney is archiving a lot of the Fox movies that they've inherited. Aliens. I can't even think of it. I don't know if they're doing it DVD wise or if they're just saving them, but this comes to light because there's a lot of theaters that are either second run or revival, and they're finding it's more and more difficult to get certain movies because Disney is not allowing them to be released, which I think is stupid because Disney has this thing where they put things in the vault and they like to put it away and then they come out and it's out for a limited time. I don't know if that business model is going to work anymore with streaming because nobody cares. My kids are not going to go running out to the latest Target or Walmart or Best Buy. I love Best Buy too, to buy a release of Frozen just because you've put it in the vault for 10 years. If they can't stream it, they don't care. And so a lot of people are thinking, well, Disney's doing the same thing they're doing by archiving it. But I don't know if that is true with DVDs or if it's just they're doing this. To me, like I said, they're doing it to houses. Say you want to have a, I don't know, give me a Fox movie. I can't even think. Say you wanted to run the Simpson movie just because of whatever. They would say no. Or again, Aliens. There's an Alien movie coming out. Well, let's run a run of Alien movies up to the release of this. Even old time movies like My Dinner with Andre, or these old time Sound and Music, old Fox movies are being shelved. Disney's just not distributing them. I don't know if it's because Disney just doesn't understand it. To me, as a shareholder, you're leaving money on the table. I don't see how, if you've got some theater out in Jabroni, Minnesota that wants to do a rerun of Sound and Music, what your grand plan is by saying no to them so they can't get any movie money out of it. The danger is that a lot of these theaters exist only because they can rerun stuff. Look at what's happening in the theaters now. They're re-releasing old movies, and old farts like Cory and I are going to it. They've got live events. How long is it before we see a live WrestleMania where you can go to the theater and watch it? A lot of theaters around me now, they're like destinations. I mean, they've got full bars. They've got full restaurants. Yeah, I'll go spend an evening and order a pizza and go sit and watch Grease, or maybe not Aliens. That's kind of gross. But, I could see a good chicken fondue maybe. Oh, whatever. I'm getting off track again. Again, I don't understand why Disney's doing this unless somebody is just, you think about like how they treated John Carter movie. It wasn't their idea. Therefore, they're going to shelve it and make it tank because they wanted Avenger to be big. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. All I know is it's a danger because a lot of these theaters that are second run, and they're not second run people, they pay first run prices. What that means is they give 90% of their weekend to Disney. So that's some significant money to them. But you're saying you take away Fox, and they've already taken away Disney movies. You can't call up Disney and go, hey, you know what? We're having a cosplay. Can we get some Disney films to run? Because Disney just says no. Now they're doing that with Fox. That's like 60% of the movies that these guys normally access. And it's like they're killing this market. Again, it might be peanuts to Disney in the terms of their overall budget, but I don't like it. I think it's stupid. I think it's short-sighted. And Disney, shape up. I'm a shareholder. I'm not saying it because I'm a national treasure. God dang, I am believing that. Speaking of Star Wars, I'm not happy about it, Cory. And you know why?
Why?
It comes out 1 week after I get my hip surgery. I'm not going to be able to see that thing until like January. What are the odds that no one's going to spoil the mother blankety for me? I lucked out on Avenger because I went on a total media blackout, and I had friends that had seen it, but they were polite enough not to say anything. Of course, threatening them to throw them on the light rail tracks part helped. And I was able to go see it with no spoilers. But there's no way I can go an entire month and not accidentally, turn on the old Facebooks and go, oh, I can't believe Rey was actually Han Solo's clone. Oh, man. Forgive me if Rey turns out to be that character. So that was kind of a bummer. I also realized that CW's awesome crossover coming up, Crisis on Infinite Earths, starts December 8th, which means I will be able to watch maybe half of it, and the rest of it I'm going to have to... No, I take that back. Where's my calendar? I'll only be able to watch the first part of it. I won't see the second part of it. Although I will be... That I'm less concerned about because, I'm going to be putting them suckers on DVR, so I'll catch them when I'm finally out of my oxycontin haze. Speaking of Hip Watch Electric Boogaloo 2, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I'm ready to get it done just because the hip is starting to ache a little bit. I'm having trouble sleeping at night. It's that can't sleep on the right side, can't sleep on the left side, can't sleep on my tummy. So I just got to go lay on the couch, prop my leg up somewhere, and then eventually fall asleep. I'm not taking ibuprofen anymore because I think that stuff can really mess up your kidneys, and I've been taking it forever. So, I've had rheumatoid arthritis forever. My doc is trying to get me on, what's the other one? Not ibuprofen. Aleve, the other alternative.
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess is more liver driven. I don't know how, they work on different things. And I've had an RA flare up to the point where I can't make a fist. Not that I'm a violent person. I have been accused of raising my fist in bloody violence, But I'm like, really? Me? I can't even make a fist. And believe me, I try to lift my lunchbox, and if I pull my finger wrong, oh my God, that's like you remember that finger where when you were a kid you take a basketball on your thumb directly and you kind of yeah, that's kind of like what it feels like, and it really hits hard and sharp. So again, I'm on folic acid. I'm talking to my doctors trying to get it going, but it's not fun, Plus, it makes porn really boring. Anyways, that's all I'm freaking on, Cory. What are you freaking on?
My comics from 2 weeks ago still aren't here.
What? Oh, come on.
They are having to find and order the stuff that I had ordered. They did send me a FedEx thing to send back the comics that I received, and I've already done that, but have not gotten my comic box. So it may be that my box day for this week will show up before my box day for 3 weeks ago.
And you know how much you love reading comics out of order.
Oh yeah. I'll get my Halloween comics after Halloween.
Yeah, you're not missing much. Anyways.
Well, I ordered all of the special Halloween issues. So, I was looking forward to that.
There's some good ones in there.
We are about to hit our busiest time of year, so I have been asked at both jobs every day, can you come in? Can you stay? Can you do this? Are you able to? Blah, blah, blah. At the full-time job, they have asked if I can come in at 7 a.m. and stay till 7 p.m. They are still training new people for open enrollment, and open enrollment starts in a week. And the new people are still dropping like flies. I would say at least twice a week I get a thing saying, can you remove this person from your list of when you email everybody? So open enrollment's going to be, November's going to be a lot of fun. And at the group home, I recently asked, I know that we're losing people here, there, and everywhere. Has the full-time overnight position opened up? And they said, well, not yet, but we really like having you as a gypsy who can fill in all the time.
Cory,
of course you like
gypsy
that.
Queen. He travels all around and pies in between. Tell him you want a pie per mile.
Of course they like that. I think this week I was at the group home every night except Wednesday, and Wednesday I had to do the AEW, and that takes up the whole night. And by the time I got home Friday at 11, it's like I don't know even where to start. I had laundry I had not done. The house, of course, had not been cleaned, etc., 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 etc. So you know what I did when I got home? I watched Rachel Maddow and fell asleep on the couch. And it was awesome. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Well, I think we should give a shout out because it's Dangerous Dan Moore's birthday today.
Yes.
Of course, by the time you listen to it, it's a week late, so you owe him.
He still has birthdays?
I don't know because he doesn't make a big deal about it, and I don't think Julie cares, and But we're gonna do it here.
They have a party.
They do. They didn't invite us.
No.
Okay, forget that. I don't go into freaking. Let's see. Oh, I am enjoying the heck out of the 4th season of Lucifer. This is the one that Netflix did, and they're going to do a 5th season to wrap things up. And what's really funny is I do got to admit that Tom Ellis, he's got a good looking butt. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, talent is talent. You gotta say it where it's at.
He must work out.
He must do. Oh, he does, man. There's a couple. I mean, even when it was on Fox, there were a couple shirtless episodes. Well, let's just say there's a few where you're going to be wanting to freeze frame. Yeah, and I'm not necessarily because of Tom, which is, I mean, he's got it for the women, but boy, there's an actress, Amy Garcia, who is on there, and let's just say nudist camp. That's all I'm gonna say. So and she's got beautiful long hair, which you've seen the end of in the beginning of like the Mike Myers Austin Power movies, where things are strategically placed as they're running around.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole thing is beautifully shot. It's not done for comedic value, but oh my God, my wife and I were laughing so hard just watching. Look at the guy in the background. Look at him. Oh, and I'm just loving the series because occasionally it's like my wife and I will predict what's going to happen seconds before it happens. Most of the time, though, by the end of the episode, they're like, "Oh man, they took a left turn." And you just feel for the characters. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I feel so bad for Lucifer. Wait, he's the devil, but I feel bad for him. And other times you're like, oh my God, he's like Homer Simpson. You want to reach in the screen and thump him one. So the fourth season is just a lot of fun. And I recommend it's one of those you got to start from the beginning. And we're not binging it, although we've only got like 3 episodes to finish season 4. And I told her maybe tonight or tomorrow, my wife and I might binge it just to, because we got other things on the plate to watch. I could get my hip operated on forever because I got so much to watch. I never did finish Deep Space Nine from when I started watching it last year. I just don't want to fall into that trap because I've got a whole list of things to watch. If you guys are playing on your little phones, Simpsons Tapped Out, the Treehouse of Horror dropped. I was playing with a friend at work, and while he was playing it, he's like, "Oh, Treehouse of Horror dropped," because we were speculating when it was going to drop, and it had dropped on his phone. It didn't drop on mine, but I was able to upload it, or go to the Google Play or whatever and get it onto my machine. So we're both playing it. They have things from past episodes that you can play donuts for, and I only did one. And I got the King Homer building, which is, you hit it, little things buzz around, then King Homer appears and tries to climb and passes out. You know the deal. Go look at it. It's on the show, people. I have no idea when this year's Treehouse of Horror will hit, but usually it's after football season because they don't want to preempt it or, I'm going to watch Treehouse of Horror. Oh, look, there's overtime in the who cares, whatever game.
Joe.
Did I miss it?
It was last weekend.
Okay. Well, that's next week's freaking. Either way, I'll catch on. I did get my Dreadstar Omnibeam. So I got omnibuses. Well, there's 3, so omnibuses. So I've got all 3 of them. I've been bringing the first one to work and trying to get ready to read it, but I'm not ready to read it. It's like I just savor owning it, kind of like the Joker one. I might crack that sucker open and read it. Because one of the dollar comics, I don't know if you got it, Cory, or if it is one of the ones in MIA, but they had like the first issue of Joker from the 70s. And I remember, I know I had it and I read it at one time, but I don't have them anymore. When I reread it and it was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. So I got my omnibuses. And the other thing that'll be fun, not necessarily now, but with the new shift, is now I'm off Tuesdays again, so I can go see $5 movies, which I'm looking forward to. So that may be how I get to see Star Wars in the future. No spoilers, people. If I want to, I will just jump on Wikipedia the day it shows and just read the entry. You kids, you don't know what it was like having to wait for Marvel Comics to spit out a new comic. I just go on Wikipedia.
Marvel usually accidentally released the magazine-sized comic before the movie.
Oh yeah, that's how I learned about Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
Please put these aside. The comic shop I went to when they please put these aside, actually put a note on it that said, Marvel wants us to hide this because it's full of spoilers.
Yeah, my guy told me that, and I was like, can I get it this week? Oh, yeah. Just don't tell anybody you got it. Well, back then there was no interweb. Because, nowadays, well, look what I got on eBay. Oh, well. That's pretty much all for me, Mr. Strode. I got a ton of stuff I read. Oh, wait, there was one other thing. After all that fun we did on going on road trips and buying stuff, the day after, there was a Toy Geek spectacular. Toy Geek is a thing up in Minnesota, and if you bear with me once, Minnesota.
While you whip this out,
They call it Minnesota Toy Posse. I said it wrong. There's the Toy Posse and Minnesota Toy Posse, and what they do is they have. First of all, you join the group, and they're really open. I think I might have geeked about this before. I'm having a little deja vu. They say, hey, go here and pick something up. Go here and pick something up, or something funny like, hey, look at this clearance price. Was $24.99, now $24.99. They do a show every so often at one of the VFWs, and I stopped out there and just to see what they got. You'd think after geeking with all the stuff we got from the two shops, well, three shops for Cory and I on the road trip, that I'd stop, but no, I picked up at the Toy Posse show Spawn Nitro Rider. I don't know if you remember these, Cory. There were 4 of them, and it was just basically weird Spawn characters on motorcycles. And I've always wanted to open a set. Well, at $5, I'm like, I'm going to open this sucker because they look really cool. A lot of the toys I bought to open. I did buy, it was called, I've always wanted one of these, Hot Wheels Micro Camera Car Video Racer. And what it is it's a Hot Wheel car that has a built-in LCD screen, and you can record your Hot Wheel track and just catch it.
Oh, that is cool.
Looks like. You go onto the YouTubes, you've seen people that did this. I've seen these for a couple. They were Target exclusives, and for 2 years they would come out, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait and pick it up on clearance. And of course, I always miss the clearance day, and people snab these. And then last year they didn't have them at all, but this guy had one at a pretty decent price, so I picked it up. I've got miles of Hot Wheel track in the basement, so who knows? Maybe when I get really bored and I can move around again, I'll set some up and see what kind of fun we can have. Just for the heck of it, I lowballed a friend and got a WCW World Championship Wrestling 24K Goldberg card. Goldberg! And he actually autographed it on back. And you can tell because the autograph that's in front that's in gold script is the same as on back. So if I open it, it's not worth money. But I do want to open it. The other thing I picked up, and I didn't have a lot of time because I had to rush to work. So a guy had Judge Dredd Crime Files from 2000 AD, first 4 volumes for $5. And I was like, I've been wanting to reread Judge Dredd from the beginning. And Cory and I talked about how they re-released all these editions. They're up to what now, 50 or something? I don't know. But we didn't find any comic store that took advantage of the reduced price. And they were advertising it in a full page in previews, but nobody did it. So if you're a comic store out there and you're looking for sales, you got 2 customers right here that'll pick up on these reduced price Judge Dredd things. As that wasn't enough, one of the guys who donates to the charity auction has what he calls a collectible die-cast sale, where he opens his garage and tries to blow out the stuff. He does it in the spring and the fall. So I went and visited by, and of course, after much ridicule from my wife, I said, "Don't you got enough?" I love it when she says that because it's like, I don't. I picked up some of the Hot Wheel. I don't know what they call these, but they're the Ghostbusters 2 car.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's got, and these are not the normal Hot Wheels. They're the more like $5. If you find them in Target, they're $5. But they're always a little bit more detailed and a little nicer. So I picked up that. I got the Spy Who Loved Me Lotus, the Spirit S1, where it's in the submarine mode. I got Christine, which is the car from the Stephen King movie. And I have a Johnny Lightning one, but this one's really detailed. I mean, the front of it, I can't even look at the front of it. It just chills me because of the movie. And then for you old folks, if you remember a show called Taxi, I got the 1974 checkered taxi cab from the show. And I know you youngins think of this as the movie, and maybe it was, but I got this from the TV show. Starsky and Hutch, the 76 Ford Grand Torino with the little siren on the right side. Remember? That was the only reason to watch Starsky and Hutch, is for when they went for the car chases. I'm telling you, car chases, explosions, that was cool. I also got a bunch of other cheap cars. And you know the thing with all these? I'm going to open these guys because I'm a sick man. I like to open my toys. And after we're done here, there's a couple other places I'm going to run because I got cash to burn. Not really, but, you know, it's a sickness. What can I say? Cory, what are you geeking on?
Joe, if you ever go to cheapgraphicnovels.com.
And I do every time you say that.
They have sales. This weekend, of course, they're doing a Justice League sale, which will be over by the time this is posted. But they are now back to doing a different sale every week. They just recently did a horror sale where they emptied out their warehouse for horror books. But for new stuff, they run standard discounts. But for the older stuff, they will blow out, hardcovers for $2.99. If they just, they've been sitting around for a while and they got them dirt cheap and they just want to get rid of them. But the thing that has been most fun is every so often In Stock Trades, which is owned by Discount Comic Book Service, will put up new stuff on their damaged section. And damaged,
that's
heck was that?
That is Target telling me, hey, we got stuff for sale online. Check it out.
God.
And they're online. They have stuff that's on sale online that they don't have in the stores. Collectible type stuff like you and me dig. But I'll look at that after the con. Boy, we are plugging people like crazy. We don't get diddly and or squat for it.
But one of the things that's been happening is in their damage section. And their damage section isn't that it's, the covers half tore off. It's more, it's kind of a dent and scratch. They're putting up omnibuses and stuff, and the omnibus community on Facebook, every time they do it, it becomes a race. Mm-hmm. And one person showed his stash. He'd gotten like 30 hardcovers and omnibuses from the sale. It was just this monster stack. So these two websites have actually made the chase fun. It's been a long time since there's been a fun sort of chase to buy stuff. Because 90% of the stuff in comic shops, they've all got the same stuff. We went to those shops in Menominee, and I found a few interesting things. But for the most part, it's, everybody's got the same back issues. Everybody's got the same trades. Although that first comic shop I went to, they had Magnus #1 in their dollar section. Guess nobody much cares about Magnus #1 anymore.
No.
Poor Valiant.
Poor Valiant.
Comic-wise, I read a book called Thor, Gods, and Deviants, which collected 4 different miniseries, all written by Robert Rohde, who doesn't do a lot of comics, and they're all fully painted. It was Loki, Thor, Thor miniseries about Ego, and then the Deviant Saga, all of which were fantastic. The Loki series is set in the future when Loki has become the All-Father. The Thor miniseries that came right after it was What If Thor in the future became the All-Father, and in both of them things were falling apart. The Ego series was really cool in that it cleaned up Ego's origin and made the character. It was one of those things where it was like, okay, Ego, the living planet's kind of been around in Marvel for a while, but this really gave the character a little more depth and made him more interesting. And then the Gods and Deviant story was with the Eternals, and it cleaned up all of the mess of the Eternals before Neil Gaiman did his stuff. No, it's after Neil Gaiman did his stuff. So, and all 4 were painted. They were just beautiful. It was a nice, big, thick trade paperback, and you could get it online for half price or cheaper.
What was the name of that one?
Gods and Deviants.
Thank you.
I have read the first 4 issues of Lois Lane, written by Greg Rucka, and Lois Lane is one of those characters that has been around forever. She's had her own book. The book from the 60s and 70s was really offensive and terrible. But Greg Rucka has made her into, basically, he's taken all the stuff and turned her into a very good reporter, and he's writing a story about her as a reporter. And I am impressed by it. Greg Rucka, one of the best writers for female characters. And he balances the fact that she's Superman's wife with wanting to do a good kind of detective reporting story. 4 issues in, it's a 12-issue maxi series, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's kind of a shame that it's only going to do 12 issues because I would love this as a regular series. And then I am reading a Marvel weekly limited series called Contagion. And it's 5 issues. I've read the first 3. What it is, a virus from Kunlun. Does Joe know what Kunlun is?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Emmy Garcia's butt from Lucifer season 4. I'm a little distracted right now.
Kunlun is where Iron Fist got his powers.
You know, Tom Ellis is pretty hot too. Oh, sorry, what?
And Contagion is about a virus that comes from Kunlun, and there's an outbreak in New York City. It hits both heroes and both superheroes and regular people. And the first 4 issues have been really good. It's able to ramp up the tension. I know that comic shops dislike weekly series because they really are never able to order it correctly. So help out your comic shop. Go pick up the miniseries. It's excellent. The art blows me away, but how good it is. But it's also a really good story. And while the Thing is the main focus of it, it is very much it could have been a event miniseries. And I'm glad it's not because it's self-contained. It's going to be a nice quick hit. And I hope they do more of these type of things because here's this story. It involves a whole bunch of characters. And it uses the Marvel Universe well. And the last thing I am geeking on, the Crazy dropped this last week. Joe did not know that the first host was the Nebbish, but the creators of Crazy knew that the first host was the Nebbish. And as I'm reading this, it reads very much like that What If number 34, the humor issue. It's not like What The was short, funny stories. This is more like 1 or 2 page gags. And I think they could do this every year or so. I'm interested to pick up the Crazy trade paperback because it sounds like they're going to print the comic-related stuff. And really, the comic-related stuff was only the good stuff. If you're looking for funny issues of Crazy, the first 14 issues were really good. And then after that, it fell right off a cliff. Oh! Believe it or not, kids, you have listened to us blather on about funny books for an hour and a half. And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
There's a lot of great jokes about farmers. I wish I knew some of them. Do you know what the Playful Walrus said to the tired old farmer?
No.
I don't either. Maybe there's someone we can write to find out. Oh, well. Cory, hit my music.
I don't get it.